So last we left off, Mono had just taken Dragon, and they were actually about to go top and gank Lulu. They catch her with an Aurelia slow with a binding, and, well, she dies. And this is part of the aggression that Mono holds. They like to be there in your face doing things. They move from objective to objective. This is something I've just seen throughout their games. They like to be places doing things. And this is something I can see the agreement with. It's fun to go for kills, it's fun to go for dragons and take these things down. And if you're confident with the team fight potential of your team, it's a good idea too. So in this case, they went, oh, we have Jarvan, we have Morgana, Aurelia can escape by flashing through Golem. We can kind of, do things and be aggressive. And this is somewhat true. They have a bit of a problem where Dignitas has been running a very tanky team, and this is that team composition. Soraka and Lulu can both apply their ult to one person, and if it happens to be Kog'Maw, it's going to be incredibly difficult to kill them. So, while Paradoxical and the rest of Mono has this fantastic AoE, Dignitas is going to have incredible sustained on one person, maybe two, and then the AoE healing from Soraka. So their goal isn't going to be to get into team fights, it's going to be to get into team fights where they keep one person alive for a really long time. And if they dive on the carry, on the cutie pie, they will be able to protect him with massive HP boosts. Interestingly enough, farm has been relatively even this game. The only person who got really out of hand was Lulu versus Aurelia, but Voyboy roamed around, went for objectives, and that first dragon let Zion Spartan catch up. But the game moves. It goes from Dragon to Baron because Mono wants to pressure it, and Dignitas knows this. They know that they have team fight and they want to use it. So Mono's going to pressure Baron, not Dragon, Baron, and Dignitas is going to respond to it. They also want to get into a fight, but they want to get into their more extended fight, their survivable fight. Now, I've seen this composition also run with Soraka mid, which provides even more HP goodness. But this also works with just a normal support. And once again you see the cage really just kind of shutting down Jarvan for a second, but the fight begins. Paradoxical is out in front. He does not have his own use, he rushed to death cap, and he's able to get a ton of damage on the enemy team. I Will Dominate is doing the Mundo thing and just being in the enemy team, but unfortunately he's not tanky enough and just kind of gets melted. And then this team fight gets really interesting positioning. We have I'm a Cutie Pie firing in from the back. Skara is getting chased down, but I'm a Cutie Pie is getting shots off this entire time. So people are getting low, and while they are getting kills, there is a big threat still alive for Dignitas. You see the shield, you see the ult go off on Lulu, and there is cleanup. In the end, Mono does win the fight. But that would be an example of what Dignitas tries to do, and it just was unsuccessful. They kept people alive, they survived for quite a while. I mean, those were squishy characters that were being dived on in the back, and they still survived for quite a while. Now, unfortunately, Mono was really, really low, and they can't actually take Baron. They do not have the HP. Look at Zion Spartan as they leave this fight. He has 37 HP. That was a stiff wind that could have killed him. If Baron had coughed up an extra big loogie instead of the normal regular size green loogies, Aurelia would be dead. So they won the fight, but they didn't get a huge advantage out of it. And looking at farm throughout the game, it's just even. No big items were really completed for Mono. They have the death cap, and this is something I actually don't know if I like about Paradoxical's playstyle. He's fantastic, but he always builds a death cap, or at least in the games I've seen, and sometimes you need that Zhonya's sweet tankiness. This could be to press an early advantage, but if what happens in the last fight happens again where he gets caught out, he will die fast. Now, this fight starts off in a very odd position. Skara is behind that wall. I mean, Cutie Pie is in a bit easier position to get, but they have to get through that beef. They have to get through I Will Dominate first to really get to the squishy backline of Dignitas. Jarvan traps Rise and Kog'Maw in that little cubby, but Paradoxical can't get in there. The rest of Mono can't get in there, and the Lulu damage is actually insane because of how clumped up they were. And the AoE from Lulu actually really put them in effect. The safe protected positions for Ryze and Kog'Maw kept them at full health, kept them doing damage, and Morgana split. Paradoxical goes in, he tries to just ult and do some damage because he knew he was going to die. And this is one of those picks. This is the pick that Dignitas wanted. They got one of the major threats, the rest of Mono is low, and they can't fight. They have to go for a steal. And something that's really impressed me in IPL4 is how much better teams have gotten at doing Baron. Now, watch Baron's HP once he starts to get low. Dignitas will stop damaging Baron when they suspect that Nintendo Dex will go in for that Baron kill. So he's in there, he's trying to kill I Will Dominate so they don't have that smite up. Baron's HP drops to 1104. And he actually instantly heals once Jarvan dies, but they stop damaging him. Once Jarvan is dead, they just finish it off normally. They kill Zion Spartan 2. Really doesn't have a huge amount of burst to try and take Baron, so they were safe. And that was scary, that was bad. Mono tried to get the Baron steal, and unfortunately they lost 3 people with it. That is what turns games around. That is a thing that will make your game go from we're winning to we're losing now. And the fight, the positioning Dignitas has is spectacular. They do not start a fight unless they like the conditions. Unfortunately for Mono, they don't have a way to really keep Dignitas there, with the exception of Morgana bindings and Jarvanal. Morgana bindings are difficult to land, and Dig is going to be smart. They're going to make sure if they get hit that they're going to be in a better position for that fight. And Jarvanal, well, if Jarvan ults into the enemy team to keep them in place, he's going to be dead by the time his ult has done what it's needed to do. And he might keep them there, but they're going to sacrifice him and start a fight 4v5. And they're no longer ahead. They can no longer be super aggressive in these team fights. And this is almost kind of a CLG poke style comp. They have a lot of sustain, they have Kog'Maw poking, and I just love the dancing going on here. Both teams just kind of waiting as Dignitas sieges. Now, this was all in 3x because it was just a long siege. They went for the towers, they got some, and they actually get bottom lane just from minions, and they back up. The reason for this is Baron is about to wear off. It's about, I believe, 10 or 20 seconds left on it, and Dignitas doesn't want to engage without Baron. They probably can win a fight. They know with great positioning they will just, the same thing will happen again, but they feel, why risk it? And this is something I really like. They choose a team composition that is going to be very, very strong late game, and they just do not do anything risky. Now, CS, once again, it's very, very even. Morgana's ahead of Ryze, and Aurelia and Lulu are finally actually just even. And Kog'Maw's a little ahead of Corki, but there's nothing too massive. And that's just kind of interesting, that this really is coming down to the team composition Dignitas has. Now, what does Mono want to do in a fight? They want to preferably blow up Corki or kill everybody. Now that might sound obvious, but with their AoE, they can do a lot of damage to a lot of people at once. The problem with that is they don't have a massive AoE team. They have a decent amount between Morgana, Corki, and Aurelia can also do quite a bit, as well as Jarvan. But they don't have Kennen, Vladimir, Karthus combination, like some super damaging combination like that. So they want to start a fight where they can burst someone down with either the AoE, which Soraka prevents, or to kill Kog'Maw very, very quickly, which Soraka and Lulu prevent. And the question is, can they really start a fight that they will win? They have 2 bruisers and Morgana. Morgana is decent damage, but not a huge amount of damage, and the 2 bruisers are going to have so much trouble with the armor from Soraka. And once again, Dignitas, they just don't mess around with their fights. Locust was a bit in the back doing his warding duty and using his oracles, and they had Morgana. They might have been able to go on her. They're just like, you know what? Be safe. And they're going to continue to siege mid. They're going to continue to push. They are confident that they have the items now. They have built what they need to build to do quite a bit of damage. Kog'Maw's at that state where He's just a terrifying little beast. Now, interestingly enough, Corki's one of the harder carries in the game, but he doesn't really match up to Kog'Maw. He does a lot of damage. Gatling gun hurts. His Q hurts, his rockets all hurt, and he just barrages you with just wave after wave of damage. But Kog'Maw just has that really high, really consistent long-range ult and just long-range auto attack. And once again, Dignitas will not engage if they're not confident. And this is something like, it's not super exciting to watch, that's the truth. It is not exciting to watch a team kind of dance back and forth, going, man, I hope someone starts a fight for 5, actually at this point about 7 minutes, because Baron's back up. But this is really smart play. They're not taking risks, they're not taking chances, and they don't need to. They've seen how they do in fights, they're confident they'll win. And I'm going to keep reiterating this, but why risk it? It's something I see a lot of people do. They'll go, oh man, we got to get into a fight, and they'll just engage. And it might not work, it might work, and it can really cost them. But they're just trying to poke away at this tower. They want it. They know once the inhibitor is open, they can get to the same sort of engagement. And if Monomaniacs dives onto Dignitas, you're going to have the same positioning from Rise, from Kog'Maw. Just way in the back, being really, really safe. And Mono, they're trying to do their thing, but they just can't. Any sort of poke they have is being healed. Any sort of poke they receive, they have no sustain for. They have to use Janus shields, which don't cut it 36 minutes into a game. And this is where the plays start getting really interesting. So Dig is trying to bait Mono into going after Baron. And Mono's trying their hardest to keep vision on it. They're dropping wards, they're getting murdered. And they decide just to go for a push. If Dig does go for Baron, they want to be in a position where they can, you know, damage them. They'll keep Jarvan in the back, just constantly warding. And as you can see, they're still equal in CS. Kog'Maw's just a little farther than Corki. This keeps coming into play. They're equal. And Dignitas wants to get this fight. And they're going to pressure, and they're going to do something really interesting. Mono is getting poked. They're going to back up. 2 people go back to base. Now, whether they have vision of this, I'm not sure. They see Corki go back at the very last second, actually. And this is what sets up the rest of the game. They know Corki's in base. They know that there are other members of Monomaniacs not inside the base. And they go straight for that tower because they have the time to kill it. And the fight starts. So once again, Nintendo X immediately caged by Skara. He's able to do his Q combination, but he can't use his ult to keep people in place. Paradoxical flashes into ult, hits everybody on Dignitas. But you start seeing the heals coming out from Locust, the sustain coming out from Lulu, her ult, and Jarvan dies mid-ult. So he's not able to keep people in place. Morgana ult does not stun many people. And the sustain and just high HP and tankiness from Dignitas comes into play. They can't kill anybody. And, well, that's the game. So this was Dignitas versus Monomaniacs game 2. Monomaniacs definitely learned a lesson about Dignitas' team composition that other teams learned throughout the tournament the hard way too. This was Studio. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm actually going to put the normal intro as an outro, so stick around for 2 more minutes. Hey folks, Studio here. So let me talk about Dignitas' team comp. There are a few key components, and I'm going to go through them. Number 1, Lulu. Number 2, Soraka. Number 3, a very bruiser jungler, preferably Mundo. Mundo's really good about this because he's just so tanky, so hard to kill, and he really dives on the enemy team. So we got 3, and number 4, it's really hard. There you go, 4. Thumb down, not pinky, thumb down. You want a really, really hard carry. Preferably one that can attack from far away. So Kog'Maw's ideal. So the ideal lineup would be Kog'Maw, Soraka, Lulu, Mundo, and either a AP mid or Soraka mid with a support. And Dignitas ran both variations of this composition in the tournament, and it worked really well. Enough to the point where TSM, CLG were banning out Lulu Soraka because they did not want to see it. Now, the way it works is you are a team fighting god. You don't have a whole lot of gank presence, especially if you have Soraka mid. Soraka, not the best ganker. She can get some things done, though. Lulu, not the best ganker, especially all the way from top lane. She can do some stuff, too. So you have people who are okay, but not your goal. What's going to happen is you want to get into team fights. And in these team fights, you position yourself so that you have Diver way up here in the front, blocking everything. And then back here you have everybody else. So in the everybody else land, you have your AD carry, which is most likely going to be Kog'Maw, near Soraka and Lulu. And the enemy team has a few choices. So they can go ahead and dive straight for Kog'Maw, because Kog'Maw is scary. But Kog'Maw is going to be protected by Soraka, protected by Lulu. Maybe by their own support, maybe by the AB carry they have mid. And Mundo will also be in your face doing his thing. So if you go ahead and go for Kog'Maw, they're going to protect him, heal him. Lulu ult him, he'll have 1 billion HP with 1 billion armor, and most of the divers do AD damage anyways, so they're going to die. And then you're going to dive on him, get punished for it, and lose the fight. Which did happen, and has happened. If you remember when Jarvan ulted Kog'Maw and Scarra, I'm a cutie pie and Scarra, he kept them both in a little area by river for one of the fights. And he couldn't deal any damage to Kog'Maw, he couldn't just do anything. There was nothing to be done. So, that is one option. The other option is kill the Bruiser, and then go back in, and then just kill everybody else. This is what a lot of teams do. I mean, if you can kill the Bruiser, it's always good. But the problem is, Mundo takes forever to kill, and the rest of Dig was going to be sitting there attacking you. So you have Kog'Maw firing all the way from the back. This is how he fires. Really, it's more of a but this is kind of how I do it with my hand. So Kog'Maw firing from the back, and he's just going to be doing this damage. You're not going to stop him, and you don't have Sorakas, you don't have these awesome heals, and if their carry is doing more damage and is safe in the back, you're going to lose the fight, because then the exact same thing from before happens. You can't dive on the carry. And then last but not least, AoE everything down. Now Mono didn't have an AoE team. They had some AoE, they had a lot of team fight, but not AoE damage. So maybe a Kennen-Vladimir combination could work. You could always go ahead and heal that one person, but in the case of Mono, the Soraka was enough to stop the AoE damage. Now, if you had, say, Vladimir Kennen, I actually don't know how that would work. That might be how you deal with his composition. Just get a crapload of AoE, press R, and dive on the enemy team. But it may not work, there just may be too much sustain. And really, if you have front-loaded AoE, and the enemy team survives it to a limited degree, so Kog'Maw surviving might be enough, you might lose a fight anyways. But anyhow, this was my breakdown of Dignitas' team composition. I hope you like it, and that's the end of this daily. Adios, folks.